What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 4, Episode 18. And it's called Chapter 75, Lynchian.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines. So be sure to stick around for that.
And we also have our contest going on right now for a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and a pop socket. To enter, just rate and comment on our iTunes page and you'll be entered in the draw. We've extended this contest to the end of Riverdale Season 4, which is the next episode. So be ready. Get your votes, get your reviews in. We're still awaiting a lot more entries, so you have a lot of chances, or you have a chance to still win. Do it.
Let's do it.
As always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into this episode, y'all.
Yes.
So, before we get into it, let's talk about our feelings for one hot second.
Should we though?
I think we should.
Should we? Because we may not make it to the end of this podcast.
So obviously not happy with that result, right?
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this. We've talked about it even in the last week's podcast. It's like you knew that it wasn't gonna happen.
Right.
But like you were still so hopeful, or you were just very intrigued, I think, by it. Like when I say you, I mean like all of us, like all of the BARCHIE like shippers. And I think this episode to me felt like two different shows. One show was the Betty and Archie show, and I was in love with that. And I was like, oh my God, this feels so real. The writing is so on point between these two characters. Like everything felt so good. And then I was watching another show called Riverdale where everything's on fucking crack and Ethel Muggs is back. There's a fucking tickle porn video happening. There's like a video shop happening. So Hiram Lodge is killing people. I'm like, what am I watching? Like the contrast was so stark to me. Like I was very like, obviously I'm like, this is the one story I want to watch. But I have to watch the rest of this to like get through all the BARCHIE stuff.
Right. I think that's the thing. I think as BARCHIE fans, we were excited to just watch them this episode. And it was filled with a lot of weird shit. Like just weird and very, it's all slowly getting to, I think, one singular point. But it's just, I cannot express. Like, I think it is. I think it is.
I don't know.
I think it is this time. I think it is. But I think that
like,
just
where did Ethel Muggs come from, bro? Like, where did she come from?
I don't even know. Like they just hired her back on.
Where are these writers? Where are they coming up with this shit? Like, why? I mean, why are we still talking about tickle porn? Like, why?
No, that was not the ticket. I just could not deal. Like, it was. We'll talk about it throughout the episode, but yeah, I think that we were excited to watch this BARCHIE thing. Like MB mentioned, I was excited to see how it all turned out, but at the same time, I wasn't hopeful at all. I think I even said it in our last podcast right out the gate that they're gonna kill it because, it stems from cheating and they're not going to make a honest love story out of them cheating. It's just not going to be something that they're going to want to promote. So
in hindsight, you're right. Like I didn't want it to happen out of that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want it to happen where like they're cheating on their like significant others. But I just think the organic way of how it started and like seeing it on screen was a very, very like entertaining Riverdale. Right. And for a long time, guys, like I haven't been this excited to watch Riverdale like on the Wednesday night. So like even just being in a place where I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what happens. It just shows that like the writing for them was really, really well done. It kind of came together like organically. The two actors, like they clearly have chemistry. So it was just something that was very exciting to see, whether or not they actually ended up like having sex or like hooking up or whatever.
Right.
The journey of it was still fun to see, on screen, I guess. But
and that's the thing. I still enjoyed, I'm not going to lie, I still enjoyed kind of the conclusion of it. Yeah. And it's only because I went into it knowing that it wasn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing. A lot of people online, we'll talk about the Twitter comments later, but there was a lot of people online who were just disappointed realizing that that's the way that they were going to go with it, where I was like, I'm prepared for this disaster to be,
Yeah.
I was just ready for it. And it was a cute story still, I think.
You know what? Yeah, I think they made it work. I think it in the end, I definitely like felt all my feelings. I got it. I understood it. I didn't see the ending last night, but I did see the scene with Cheryl. And the minute she said what she said, we'll talk about it later. But the minute she said what she said, I was like, they're not going to happen. So it's done. So I already knew, like in my heart, I'm like, they're not going to happen because they wouldn't have given Cheryl that like great like speech if it didn't mean anything, like if it didn't change Betty's mind. So yeah,
exactly. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start from the top. So it starts with Jughead narrating. He mentions Lynchian, which we looked up last during our reaction video. It has to do with David Lynch's style of filming. He's a director, and he focuses on the macabre, and like it's very, I guess it's in the vibe of Riverdale if you really want to look at it that way. And he segues into talking about finding this murder video, which he shares with his entire family in their living room. And, you know, so everybody's watching in the living room being like, oh my God, there's a murder. Even Jellybean comes down. She's like, what you guys watching, cartoons? And they're like, no, don't watch this right now. And Jughead is like on the case. He's ready to kind of go into it and figure out what the hell's going on. But Betty is taking a step back and she's like, I'm not down for this murder storyline anymore. I can't do it anymore. So it's going to be him and Charles, at least for this part, to kind of team up and figure things out for this episode. Then it cuts to the lodge residence, and somehow, for some reason, the writers decide to dig up the storyline of the rum rivalry, which still apparently is relevant. Like, this was one of those moments where you were talking about where I was just like, why are we still talking about rum rivalries?
We're still here? Like, I didn't realize we were still like dealing with this.
Like it feels like season 3 stuff, and I'm just like, whatever. So it's Hiram and Veronica like having their little conversations, like, I'm gonna beat you at rum, and he's like, I'm gonna beat you at rum. So that's how that kind of starts. Then it cuts to school, and Reggie talks to Fangs and Kevin in the classroom, and he's like, so I heard you guys are making some like extra monies, and like I want to get in on this ticket because I be poor and I'm a student, whatever. And so that's when he basically says to him, I want some monies, I want in on this, what are you guys doing? And so that's when Fangs and Kevin say, we're making these tickle videos that's not porn. He had to say it like 7 times, like, it's not porn, it's not porn, it's not porn. And so then Reggie's like, wow, I'm down for this shit. And this is when I wrote down my first comment about this storyline, and it literally carried out through the rest of the episode. But of all the things that they drop, you know, like in terms of storylines, and, you know, like we lost Phallus, and somehow we have a tickle porn storyline that is continuing the rest of the season. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Watching the rest of the episode, it gets even worse and more heightened to the point where it looks like it's going to be an actual story arc. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
And that's the thing. Like, I just don't understand who's writing this. Like, who's saying, oh my God, they're gonna die when we get to the tickle porn part, guys. They're gonna love it. They're gonna fucking love it. Not a single person on Twitter, in our comments, anywhere, guys, did I ever see a single comment say, yo, this tickle porn storyline is hilarious.
The best. Yeah.
Like it's shit. It makes no sense. Like, I'd rather you just have made them done a porno. Like
just go there. Go hard,
take
man.
It all the way there, guys.
You got murders up in this business. You guys are worried about porn? Like, come on.
It's so weird and degrading, and like for Kevin to be doing this still. Like, ugh.
It's just annoying because in any other context, because they can't say porn, like they can't say it because they're underage. But like, like you guys are basically saying that. So like, don't pretend that that's what you really wanted to talk about. Anyway, it just makes it a very weird, convoluted storyline. And like, I don't know who signed off on this. Like, I'm just like annoyed. Anyway, it cuts to Archie at home, and he's playing the guitar in bed, and he's kind of like writing a song, which is like,
I love this scene. This scene
what
was
we
really cute.
see. He's remembering this kiss that they just had. And as he's remembering the kiss, he kind of moves toward the window, and it cuts to Betty, and she's in her room and she's reading her diary. And it starts off with a bit of a voiceover, her saying, "Dear diary, I met this boy," and it becomes this beautiful memory of their childhood.
I just got chills.
Looking across. I loved it. It like, That's the thing. Outside of everything, I think that I enjoyed the story of Barchie that they were telling, and
that's what I mean. It felt like its own like episode, its own show. It just felt so removed from everything else. Even the way they produce those scenes, like the way that the editor cut between like Archie playing and then like writing in his notebook and like writing the lyrics. Like we've seen Archie song write, but the way that they shot it, like it just looked so beautiful. It looked like a film. Like it was so romantic. I don't know. Like it just felt very different than what we've seen in Riverdale.
For sure. I really wish that if they weren't going to pursue Barchie, that they should have just given them their own episode. I just think that they were worried about ratings, but I'm like, so you're going to get people watching the show to watch a tickle porn storyline? Like, anyway, whatever. It's like, okay, just really quickly to talk about that. It's almost as if they knew no one was going to watch this episode, so they made it Barchie and tickle porn storylines. Like,
that's
it's so
funny.
unfair that we got stuck
so
as Barchie
unfair.
fans.
Yeah.
Anyways, cutting to Betty in her room. So now it's Betty in her room and she's just reading. Alice comes in and she has just like a moment with her mom. And I love these little moments that she had with Alice because it really brings you back to season 1 where
totally.
Alice was being a mom and not a crazy person. So, you know, she's just like, you know, I look at you now, Betty, and you're so big and you used to be such a little cute, adorable kid. And she's like, you have your whole life ahead of you and I'm so excited for your life. And she's like, there's nothing that you should ever cry about. You have your whole life ahead of you, which I love that line that she gave her. And obviously in that moment, Betty's like, ooh, flashback to the kiss and the awkward moments that are happening in my brain right now. So she's going through it. Then it cuts to the Maple Lodge. Cheryl and Veronica are kind of like hanging out. They're doing their own thing. And some guy named like Jinx Monsoon or whatever, shout out to Drag Race. I was like, Jinx who? Like, what the hell? So he comes in with his gang and he's like, we are the ones that make illegal booze that you guys are selling now to the college students. So like, we need to shut your ass down. And Veronica's like, no, you work for my dad. Bye. Like, she didn't believe him at all. Jinx is like, okay, well, we warned you. And then Cheryl says, what the hell was that? And, you know, Veronica's like, it's fine. It's just my dad. I'll go talk to him. This is so annoying. And then there's this moment where Penelope in her creepy ass mask is like lurking in the corner. Did you notice that little shot where she's just like beep, boop, beep, like in the corner?
No.
She's just like, there's this random shot of her wearing her mask like in the corner because they're at the Maple Lodge. And it's like, you're trying to remember that she's like in the storyline somehow. It just felt very suspicious that they cut to Penelope. So it cuts to Jughead and Charles, and Jughead sees something on a tape and he's like, okay, let me like check out this lead. Then it cuts to the bunker. So we get our first, I guess, Barchie scene of the episode, and they're just laying there. This is the part that we saw from the trailer. And it's the lines that they say, why are we here? I don't know, but it's nice. It is, but it's not like we can do anything more than this. And they say the lines that we hear, and it's such an interesting way to, I guess, portray their current, like, conflict in their heads, right? What did you think of this scene?
First of all,
you're like,
I don't know.
Let me break it down for you.
Because now looking back on it, like, what they were doing was wrong. Like, I get it, you know, like it's dirty what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, I still wanted something to happen, but whatever. I'm glad nothing happened. It was cute. I still feel like Archie felt more for her than she did for him in this moment, in this time where they are as like two people. Like, I still feel like he, even by the end of the episode, like, I still feel like he's in love with her, you know? And she, I think, was like, no, like, we can't do this, because she's the one always saying we can't do this, even in that moment, right? She's like, we shouldn't be doing this, and he's like, really though? But like, it feels kind of good, no? Like, he was pretty down.
But I think that's the thing, right? Like, I think that is what people have been saying all this time is Archie was never there. Betty has always been there. And so he's the one that needs to be the one to push this forward, because he is the one that was sleeping on this whole time. So with Betty, it makes sense that she's like, okay, so like, are we doing this? And Archie's like, I don't know, but like, I really like this and I really want like this to continue. And he's going to encourage it because like, that's what he's been craving all this time. Whereas Betty's literally been writing about Archie since she was like 6 years old.
Yeah,
so it's like,
true. Yeah.
It's a different experience for both of them. But yeah, the scene ends with them holding hands, which I thought was really cute and really sweet. And then it just cuts to the title credits and it's the next day at Fred's grave. And I was like, so we don't get to see anything in the bunker. Like, so we're just assuming that they held hands the entire time and talked about nothing. Like, and then they just were like, okay, bye. Like, and we have talked about this before. It happens in television a lot where they just cut to the next situation and you're like, okay, but that was a pretty juicy situation. You couldn't give us a little bit more context of what happens later on.
Did you want more in that moment? Like you wanted
100%
them, like, make out?
I don't know if I wanted them to make out, but I wanted some level of understanding. Like no one sits in a bed, no one lays in a bed.
Yeah, like how did you even get there?
Yeah. Like the visual is so intriguing. Obviously, you're like, ooh, the visual is very like it's very cinematic. There's candles everywhere. But outside of the visual, like logistically, it makes literally no sense whatsoever. Like you're like,
right.
what are you guys doing there? Did you guys just like stand up and walk away after that conversation? Like what happened?
I think I would have liked to see them before, like how they even got to the bed.
Yeah.
Like was Archie like, are your legs tired? Do you want to just like sit on the bed and I'll lie by you and I'll hold your hand? Like, should we do that? Like, how did that happen?
What was the conversation that was negotiated?
Yeah.
And then it was like, so you can leave for like anyway. So it was a weird situation.
Also,
to
the
walk
bunker
away from.
is the worst place, guys.
Like
everyone comes in there, everyone knows about it. That door is never locked. It's the worst place to have an affair if you're gonna have a fucking affair.
Like Ethel Muggs could be down there like putting a fucking camera in the corner. Like we don't even know. So anyway, cutting back to I just thought of something. Imagine that was like one of the tapes. Both of them laying in bed.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You're right.
Oh, that'd be fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so he's at his dad's grave. I should have bad segue, but okay. He's at his dad's grave, and he's like, "Hey, Dad, girls, am I right?" Like he's just fully having a conversation with his dad, which I thought was so sweet because
you know what. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I think it's one of those moments, two things, because number one, like, of course, when you lose someone like your parent, all you want to do is just talk to your dad about girl problems. Like, of course, like, hello, you're a straight guy. Yeah. Two girls are chasing after you. Like, who else are you talking to? But then at the same time, I was just like, it's so sweet that he's going to Fred about this situation with Betty, because Betty is that connection. And it is that past childhood, you know, that marriage between that. And I love that they brought him to his grave to like really drive it home. And I think it was a really powerful moment. What did you think about it?
No, for sure. 100% agree. And like we've always said before, there is something real about this BARCHIE, Betty and Archie storyline, right? When they write for them, it just feels very real. Like for him to go to his dad's grave, guys, like they would have never let him do that if it was Veronica. Like, would he ever go to the grave to be like, Dad, what should I do with Veronica? Like, she's running a rum business. Like, maybe I should help her. No, like that would never happen because their romance and their storyline is so far from like the Fred connection and like Archie's connection to his dad. The minute I saw that, I was like, holy shit, like, this was such a beautiful scene. It's such a short scene, but it speaks volumes about how he sees Betty's situation and like the ties to his dad and like he needs advice. And like it was so beautiful. I'm so happy they wrote that in there. Really, really happy with that.
A really, really beautiful moment. So then it cuts to Riverdale High and Jughead's like, I need to talk to you, Ethel. And she says that you were the one that dropped off the tapes to the FBI. What happened? That one of those tapes had a murder on it. So like, what's the deal? And she's like, I don't know. I just like, they were there and I just brought them in. So that's all we really get from her in this moment. But obviously that's not the end of like this Ethel head saga or whatever. So then it cuts to Betty reading her diary in the lounge. Like, this girl is like publicly reading her private moments.
Yeah, I was like, why is she bringing it to school? Like, girl, you're obsessed. Like, read it at home in your bed.
Yeah.
She's like in the student lounge being like, their diary.
Yeah.
I love Archie. Like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
but it was a
Jughead's
cute I did kind of love that she was kind of going through her day as she's remembering these moments. But you're right, like private times, guys.
Also, the actors that played young Betty and young Archie were so cute. They
were
chose
adorable.
them like perfectly. Like, they were so freaking adorable. I was like, you're right. Like, I wish this was the whole episode. Like, the young storyline and like the older, like, so cute.
Like a little Archie episode.
Yeah. They should totally do that.
They totally should do it. And I think that that's what they probably wanted to do, but maybe because it was would have been so Barchie heavy, because Veronica wouldn't have been in it, they would have like no one would have wanted to watch it.
That's such a good idea. They could have done that for everyone.
Yeah, shout out
young
to
Kevin, young Cheryl. Oh my god.
Yeah. So it's in this moment she remembers that she's like, he asked me to marry him, and I told him that when we're both 18 and in high school, he should try to ask me again. And I was like, because like now.
Yo, did you see that ring though?
Like
that ring was popping. That was like 8 carats.
Like a ring popping. Like
no, it was such a pretty ring. It was like ruby red and shit.
He like stole the ring from his mom. It's like, Mom, I gotta borrow this for my girlfriend Betty. So in that moment, Kevin comes in and he's like, hey Betty, what's up? And she's like, you know, just remembering simpler times. And I'm like, all right. And that's a wrap on Kevin, everybody. Like, he had one line to talk to his best friend, and then he disappeared again into this tickle porn storyline. So whatever. She gets called into the office by Principal Honey, and he like gives her a picture of himself, and he's like, here you go. And she's like, what is this? And she's like, he says to her, you know, you're the one that wanted yearbook. You got yearbook. You're like the lead of it or whatever. And she's like, true. My bad.
She's like, oh, right. Before the Stonewall murders. She basically recaps the whole season. She's like, yeah. I did agree to that. Yeah, true.
She's like, yeah, before the Black Hood tried to kill me, and then the Gargoyle King tried to kill me. And then like that time that the fucking farm like almost destroyed itself. Like, yeah, I definitely signed up for yearbook. It's just like, my God.
It was hilarious. I died.
Yeah. So then it cuts to Charles and Jughead, and Jughead thinks that it's someone who owns a video store. He's like, these tapes have to, like, someone must know how to like work VHS tapes or do something with tapes. Like, let's try the video stores that are in
I love that
town.
like it took them this long.
Like, come
to fucking get to the point where they should check a video store. Like
Charles
really, guys?
Isn't real. Like, he cannot be a real FBI agent.
Real.
Like, this is not how shit goes down. Like,
you know what? If they had just written in, like, if Charles said, you know what, Jug, I can't like devote my entire time to this because like I'm a real FBI agent and like I have other work to do, like then I would believe it more. I'd be like, okay, like no wonder like all his attention isn't on this case. No, he's like fully on this case, and like he doesn't get to the point where they should go to a VHS rental store.
Charles took this long, but whatever. Moving on. So then it cuts to Reggie, and he gets his first check, like doing tickle porn with the main guy, and he's like, "Oh shit, money, beach!" And then so right after that scene, after he gets paid, he takes Kevin and Fangs to Pops, and he's like, "You guys, we should do this on our own though, like start our own tickle porn business." And Kevin's like, I don't know, man. That's kind of like the other guy's thing. Like, maybe we shouldn't do that behind his back or whatever. And obviously Reggie, like, who listens to Reggie for good ideas? I don't know fucking idea. So he's like, we should totally do this, guys. Make so much sense. And so they pursue this idea of running their own tickle porn.
This was the moment where I was like,
this was the moment that you were like,
I'm done. This was the moment. I was like, I can't believe the entire secondary cast right now is doing this storyline. Like really everyone in the writer's room sat and said, the whole half of the cast is gonna be busy with this shit. Yeah, we're down. Wow, you guys
like fucking fails.
Like I just can't. I can't.
This is I
can't.
Anyway, so cuts to the video store, and they start to like read this old ledger where people like put their names in for renting movies, Ethel Muggs' name comes up like a million times because she keeps renting Friday the 13th. I'm like,
girl, don't you have Netflix?
Like, go,
what
go
are you
buy
doing?
the movie. Like, why are you renting it 17 times? So anyway, they're like, okay, well, it must be her. It keeps going back to Ethel. And Charles is like, I think it's Ethel. She's obviously obsessed with like murder movies. She was obsessed with you last season.
Poor Ethel.
Like
poor Ethel, man. They always dump this shit on her. Like, I feel like, and remember we said it last year too, where like she's probably the Gargoyle King. Like because she's that scapegoat for them, you know? Like, I just felt really bad for her. I'm like, girl, they brought you back again to be the crazy bitch. The crazy bitch. Again.
100%. And like, it was random and it totally sucks for Ethel. Like, it's true. 100%. So, even though she's being accused by Charles, Jughead is like, no, I don't think it's him. I don't think it's her. And this is a moment that I was like, is Charles trying to lead Jughead astray? Because we still don't really know what Charles's MO is. I still don't trust his ass. So everything that he says and everything that he concludes, I still don't know if he has the best intention. So yeah, did you think that was a situation when he said that?
A little bit, for sure. I was like, huh? I'm like, what is he like?
I'm like, what do you got against fucking Ethel?
Like, I still don't know what to think. I still don't know. Like,
it's very confusing.
If he's sketchy or not. Yeah.
Anyway, so then it cuts to Veronica, and she gets a call in the middle of the night from Cheryl. She's like, you need to get to the Maple Club right the fuck now. So she gets there. The Maple Club is fully freaking trash. Like, it's garbage. Like, there's like shit everywhere. And Penelope like has her one and only line, and she's like, it was those
why is she in this
people
episode?
I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. Like, they wouldn't have put her in there if it wasn't for a reason. So she basically comes forward and says, there were all these people, they trashed the whole place. It was those guys that you had invited over. And I don't know. So there's two things. One is it bad writing that they just had to have a witness at the specific like location?
She's like, thank God I was hiding in that secret room behind the desk in the red wall. My bed was right there. I'm like, okay, Penelope, we don't need to know where you fucking live because like, you're never in the show.
Like, unlock the door for them, bitch. Like, that's the thing that like, and that's the thing. I was like, are we seriously gonna believe her ass right now? This woman who tried to murder you guys last season.
And that's the thing, right? Yeah, and that's the thing. What has she done to make up for last season?
Right.
Nothing. Like, she hasn't done anything to save them, to protect them, to make up for anything. So like, why is she even in this scene? Why is Cheryl even protecting her own mother who like tried to kill everyone last season? Are we not going to talk about that?
Like, what a waste character. Maybe you should
stop talk about tickle porn?
Fucking talking about tickle porn and talk about like
Seriously.
This mother who's been wearing a fake mask to hide her real identity at a fucking Maple Club.
Like, we're not going to talk about that.
The fuck is going on? The fuck is going on?
Oh, man, I can't.
So it cuts to the lodge residence, and because she still thinks that this is all Hiram. And so she goes right to Hiram and she's like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? You called like that guy on us. Like, why is he like going and mucking our shit up? And he's like, oh shit, if that was like Jinx or whatever, he's like he's like a serious person. Did he hurt you? Because I'm gonna kick his fucking ass. And she's like, don't worry about it. Like, first of all, she's like, it's my problem, so I'll deal with it. But also, like, you're like a weak person now. Like, you have no strength, so you can't do it.
And I was like, oh,
I was like,
no.
He's gonna kill.
So this is
now.
my thing with Veronica. This is my thing. We are at the end of season 4, basically, because next week's the finale. She, to me, hasn't grown a single slice. Like, she has not matured, grown, gotten smarter. I feel like if anything, she's gotten dumber. Like, she, in that moment, to me, as a character who's grown with her father the last 3 seasons, she could have been like, you know what, Dad? It wasn't my dad. I don't think he would do that to me. Like she hasn't grown. Again, she goes to the same place that she's always been at. Oh my God, it was my daddy. Like, I'm gonna go accuse him now. Like, I want to see growth. I want to see a little bit of like maturity. Like, you're almost going to graduate high school. This whole daddy thing is like, sure, it's always there. It's their iconic like relationship. I get it. But like, he's also sick right now. Like, your first thing was to go and blame him.
Right.
Like, maybe you shouldn't have done that, though.
Yeah. But also, it's just like...
And she's just not a character I can get behind. I don't know. Like, I just want more from her, and I'm not really getting that. Maybe I'm expecting too much.
But no, I think you're right. Absolutely. I think that they've given her this same storyline, and it feels like it's been dragged out like a million times over. It's been changed into like 3 different plot lines, and they keep cycling back to the same thing, which is the central theme that Hiram and Veronica have a very tumultuous like father-daughter relationship. Like, that's literally, it always just ends up back there. And I'm like, you got to give us more. There needs to be more.
You got to give us
more stakes, and there is something that happens at the end of the episode. But like at the same time, I'm like, I feel like we've seen this already. Like, I feel like we have seen this kind of change, and
It didn't even shock me because I'm like, you guys have pegged him as a mobster this whole time. So why am I shocked that he killed someone that almost killed his daughter? Like why?
Come on.
Why is that shocking?
Yeah.
Also, this whole rum thing, how they talk about like it's in their blood and their legacy, bro. You didn't start talking about rum till like the
2
second
seconds
season
ago.
you were in the show. Yeah. So like it wasn't in the beginning of your whole like journey. Yeah, like it doesn't make sense. Anyway. But that's the writer's fault, obviously. Like it's not him.
Exactly. Anyway, so moving on to Archie, he's playing his guitar and he's writing a song. And he's just like feeling himself. Like, it cuts to a lot of scenes of him just like getting into his like own mind about it. And
his feelings. And like, oh.
So then he goes to visit Betty at school, and he's like, hey, I heard you were here. Like, I want to help you with the yearbook. And she's like, no, you're not.
Yeah, she's like, you're not going to help me. Like, you're dumb. Like you're here to talk to me right now.
Obviously. Like, could you come up with a better lie next time? So he's like, yeah, it's true. Like, I'm definitely not going to help you with anything. And he's like, I can't stop thinking about you. And she's like, we can't do this here in this room. Like, it's very awkward because like I make out with my boyfriend all the time in this exact room.
But like, she's being so like mature and like, she's like, we can't do this here. Like, no, not right now. Like, we can't. He's like, okay, you want to go somewhere else? He's like, should we go somewhere else tonight? He's like, let's go somewhere else. Like, he's so horny. Like, can't even like contain himself.
But it totally makes sense because like Betty's always the rational one. Like, Archie's always like the dumb one who's like, like let's make out in this room. How cute is that? Like, he makes out with and has sex with his girlfriend in a fucking musical room in school. So like, we're talking about Archie here. So they plan to meet in the bunker tomorrow night. Like, that's gonna happen later.
By the way, huge part of this scene, and I freaking loved it. And like I was just saying with Veronica, Betty on the other hand, I feel like has matured so much since we've seen her in the first episode. Mm-hmm. And he's like, let's meet tonight. And she's like, no, let's meet tomorrow night so that we can for one day think about what the F we're about to do.
Yeah.
I thought that was the smartest fucking line ever written for any character. I was like, that's genius. Like, what high schooler says that? Like, she's like, no, not tonight. Like, calm your like dick down. She's like, we need to like think this through before we really act on it and make this decision.
Yeah. No, it was
like,
good.
This girl is like too smart for this show. Like, I can't. Like, she's too smart.
She needs to get her spit off or something.
She needs to go out, go to New York, go to Kitty.
Yeah, 100%. So Jughead visits the school secretary in the next scene, and he's like, hey, so like, do we have like an AV club or something? And she says,
like, how do you not know that? How do you not know
and
that?
That's the thing. Like, he's literally the one that has cameras and like whatever. Very expositional.
Filmed the show last year.
Yeah. So she says, the secretary says like, oh yeah, like this is my like 2 minutes of fame. Ethel Muggs is the one is the president of the AV club. Like, you should probably talk to her. And she's like, you know, it's really funny. Someone literally just came in and asked about that. And he's like, who? Was it like an FBI agent? She's like, yeah, it was an FBI agent. And he's like, okay, well, where's Ethel now? And she's like, he like basically abducted her. So I don't know what's going on right now. So he like fucking takes Ethel out of school like randomly. So then it cuts to Pop's diner, and Kevin basically breaks up with his tickle agent. Like, that's what happens in this part. And he's like, oh, you know what? Like, I got like school and graduation, and like, you know, I don't want my dad to find out about all this weird stuff. So the guy's like, okay, cool. Like, if you ever want to come back, like, you're hot or whatever, and like, you did really good. So like, let's do this again.
So in this scene, I missed the scene before, like my stream cut out of the previous scene where like they were talking about going off on their own.
Yeah.
So when it cut back, I just see Kevin being like, no, I'm done, bro. Like, I'm out. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, he's done. Like, he's fixing up his life. He's like cleaning up. He's like growing up. He's maturing. I'm like, sick. Yes, Kevin.
No.
Like go to Carnegie Mellon. Like you're so good now. And then I'm like,
never mind.
Okay,
he's just escalating it to a higher level.
Backtrack. Backtrack.
So then it cuts to Reggie, and he's recruiting people, and by people I mean like his high school fucking classmates. So he goes to the Bulldogs and he's like, hey guys, like there's this like crazy thing, you guys just tickle people and you make a shitload of money. Everybody's like, I don't know, man, that's kind of gay, like I'm not into it. And then he's like, you know, like if you had like a girl in it, then like maybe we'd be down. And so Reggie's like, ooh, I can do something like that. So then Reggie successfully turns this into a porn business. Like he goes from turning it from a tickle business to literally like just consensual, like heterosexual porn, soft porn. So he goes to Tony and he's like, yo, I have this idea. Do you want to like get in on it? And she's like, no. And then he's like, but it's like a lot of shmoney. And then she just changes her mind like right away. And then she says, okay, we're going to do it. I'll ask the Vixens to do it, but only if we're the ones that are tickling you. Like she makes stipulations. So like they're the ones that
the
tickle.
Girls are in control.
Yeah, exactly.
So question to you. Do you think this will have repercussions for CHONI?
No, I don't think so. I feel like this is not going to be a storyline that's going to like hit them at all. Why do you feel like this is something that she would have gotten upset about?
Well, you know, in any fucking random ass weird storyline, I try to find like the silver lining where I'm like, is this gonna be something else, or like, can this lead to a bigger storyline? Just because I'm like, why are we talking about tickle porn? You know what I mean? So in that moment, I was like, oh, like she's gonna go behind like Cheryl and like get the Vixens to like do this with her and not tell Cheryl so that she can make money. Mm-hmm. But I'm clearly writing for a different show in my head. No, that's like never gonna happen. So
that's just not.
I don't even know why I think these things. Yeah.
So they agree, whatever. Then they're all in the hotel. It cuts to all of them in the hotel, and they're all ready to like do the scene. They pull out these names out of a hat. Shout out to Audrey for being the first tickle vixen. It just randomly cuts to this blonde chick in a fucking cheerleader outfit.
She's like, yeah.
She's like waving to everybody. I was like, what is this?
She's gonna go die. Like,
it was so random. Shout out to Audrey. So she's like, okay, guys, let's do this. Follow me to the tickle suite, please. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's what I mean. Like, bro, what are you watching right now? Like, just like taking what you just said to me. Like,
follow me to the tickle suite.
Like,
please.
Is this a show that we're watching?
Like grown adults reviewing a show that have tickle suites in it. Like it's just, this is our life now. So then it cuts to somebody smoking outside of a bar. You don't really know where it is. And then Hiram comes up behind him and he's like, yo, Malloy, whatever. Like it's the guy's son, Jinx's son. And he beats his ass. He's like, yo, you shouldn't have done that to my daughter or whatever. And he calls Veronica like a tramp or something. And then Hiram loses his shit, beats his shit out of him. But right at gunpoint, he's about to kill him. This guy begs for mercy. Hiram eases out and then dips. He's like, go fuck yourself. He walks away. As he's about to get up in his car, Malloy like beats his ass. So he gets his ass kicked. So now like the tables are turned or whatever. He's getting his ass kicked. And then it cuts to Charles and Jughead at the office, and Charles like finds a tape because Jughead's like, I can't believe that you took Ethel, like what's wrong with you? And Charles is like, well, we basically raided her room and we found this tape, so like maybe you should think twice before you think that she's trustworthy. He gives him the tape. You don't know if this tape, like where this tape came from. And I wrote down originally, like, he could have planted that tape because I'm still very suspicious of Charles. But obviously, like, Ethel admits that, like, she's been watching, like, their porno, basically. So then it cuts to the lodge residence, and Veronica comes home, and she sees blood, like, all over the walls. Like, it's just, like, being trailed all the way inside of the condo. And it leads to Hiram's office. And he's, like, clearly just, like... This is like the moment. Like this is
like he couldn't go shower. He had to just sit in
this
his
is like
office
he's sprawled out. He's wearing his white t-shirt. It's like partially open, showing like a little bit of nip. The chest is out. you know the drill, Mark Consuelos. Like, you know, it's like it's his it's like his sexy moments.
His go-to,
sexy bloody moment. And then it cuts to her like cleaning him up, and she's like, what had happened, Dad? And really quickly, before we continue,
like, where's Hermione?
Where the fuck is Hermione? Where is Hermione?
Even Hermosa. Yeah, no, like this show just makes no sense anymore. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
I just don't get it. Like, he wouldn't have just rolled into his anyway. So she cleans him up and she asks what happened. He's like, you know, like, this is what happened. The Malloy people like came for me, but I didn't kill him, and then he jumped me, and like, this is it. And she's like, it's okay, I'm here for you. Like, I respect you more or whatever. I think it's great that you like didn't kill the guy or whatever. So then it cuts to
also, like, doesn't he have henchmen? Like,
and
where is his bodyguards? Like, where are all these guys that like he hires?
Yeah.
Why is he doing this on his own?
I feel like he's lost all that ever since he kind of like tried to this rum business instead of being like a mobster, but you're still anyway.
But you're still beating
people's asses. So like, call some people up and help you beat other people up. So then it cuts to Betty reading her diary again in the newsroom, like publicly. And this is when Cheryl, she reads a specific thing that says, I am so mad at Cheryl. Cheryl made Archie kiss her because they're both redheads. Like, it's such a cute thing. And again, like you were just saying, like, I would have loved to see all of these scenes like play out. It would have been so cute. Yeah. But anyway, it's a great segue to Cheryl walking in as like her full adult body or whatever. And she's like, hey cousin, what are you doing? I want to add an extra page into the yearbook for Jason. And I'm like, can we stop talking about Jason, please?
Why are we talking about Jason? It's been like 3 years.
You know what's funny?
I guess because like they're graduating, so it's like that's why maybe.
No, I feel.
But she didn't say it like that.
I feel like they literally did it just because of what happens at the end of the episode.
Oh, 100%.
It reminds you
100%.
of like how he died or whatever. So anyway,
it was just felt so random. I'm like, but why?
Yeah, it's definitely like trying to just make those random connections. So that happens, and then she grabs her diary as she's like, you know, like kind of just talking to her, and she reads the entry, and she's like, yo, like I fully booked it that one time I told you that you guys are like into each other. And Betty does admit, she's like, a part of me feels like I've been in love with Archie for 10 years. And then Cheryl gives her big speech, which I'm going to say is my favorite line. So I'll say it at the very end. But it was just, essentially it was, you love the idea of Archie. You don't really love him. You love the fact that you guys were, you know, a perfect couple in your head, and it was a fantasy, and like, you know, you guys can like live happily ever after, but that's not the reality. Riverdale's fucked up, and you guys didn't find each other. Instead, you found Jughead, and he's like the real deal, and you guys are probably what Endgame is. Like, you guys should just like keep that going. You
know, it really was a beautiful line. I think it 100% like, you know, summarizes what they are and what it means. And I think she was so on point with it. I just kind of wanted, in all of this, sort of, I kind of wanted Betty to be like, when I wanted you, Archie, you didn't want me.
Right.
Like, and I know he says that. I know he recognized that, like, in the episode before. But, like, even in this moment, she could have said, like, yeah, like, he was never there when I was ready for him. And now the tables are, not that the tables are turned now, because they don't really say that in that way. Yeah. But I kind of wanted that a bit more.
It's true.
You know, for her to be like, damn, like, I really wanted him, like, 2 years ago, like 2 seasons ago, and like he didn't even fucking like look at me like that, you know?
Right. And that's the thing. It's you're absolutely right. Cheryl, they could have had a longer conversation with Cheryl even after her saying this, and you know, Betty still feeling conflicted, being like, but I still don't know how I feel because like Archie's out here still trying to like get me or whatever. But it was a cute moment. I did like it. It was a great line. I'm glad they gave it to Cheryl.
100%.
It was a great delivery. So then it cuts to Pop's Diner. Kevin, of course, drinking his milk as he usually does, and Terry and his goons kind of like pop into his little his little cubicle, his little booth, and they are like grabbing his hands and they're ready to break his hands, essentially saying, we found out that you guys are doing this like side business. You better give us 40% of the profits or else we'll break your tickling hands. I'm like, okay. What the fuck? Okay.
Also, the sound effects were so extra in that moment. It was like
crack, crack, crack.
I'm like, hey, you're not cracking anything. Like,
you're basically just like doing what I do every morning, like just to like crack my hands, like chill.
Like stretch. You're just stretching his fingers.
Give me a little bit of yoga pose. So then it cuts to Jughead. So then he's like, okay, fine, whatever. So then obviously he's gonna have to shut it down. So then it cuts to Jughead talking to Ethel, and he confronts her again. He says, so you had a sex tape of me and Betty in your room. What the fuck, man? I literally vouched for you. And I have a really quick pause on this, and correct me if I'm wrong. Did we not see the tape get visibly destroyed by Jughead at the end of that whole storyline last?
I could be wrong because I don't remember, but like I think they said there was another copy of it somewhere. Like I think that they knew that it wasn't the last copy. Maybe I can't remember.
So like this is the second tape or whatever. Anyway, so she's like, I found this tape in the back of that video store. There's this place called the Scarlet Suite where they have like snuff films and homemade videos, and I just sit there and I watch them and I like beat off or whatever. Like I don't fucking know what she does back there. So but that's the thing.
Again, the weirdo.
Like, yeah, exactly. The like creeper is the one that like goes in there and checks it out. But also that area is 18 plus. So how did the fuck does she get in? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Who knows?
So like,
why do we ask these questions? Because nobody else thinks about them.
Like clearly, like Jughead's not gonna ask that question and be like, "Wait a minute, you need to be 18 to get in there."
She should have been like, at school we have a secret room for that. Like the high school students themselves had their own like Scarlet Suite. That would have made more sense.
Or like I worked at the video store and like one day like I went to the Scarlet Suite and like I just wanted to like see what was in there and I found this tape.
She was even working. I guess she can't work there. Oh,
but
maybe she could have been working there.
Like she's really gonna work there.
And then at night she just goes in and like takes a couple of tapes.
Yeah, and like jerks off or whatever. Like whatever.
Why don't we write for the show? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand.
Holler, guys.
Why?
So anyway, she's like, she's like, go to the Scarlet Suite. You'll find your answer there. And I'm like, okay, we're not playing Pokemon over here. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So he's on his next mission. And so then it cuts to like the rest of Riverdale High, and Kevin goes to Reggie and is like, yo, we gotta shut this shit down. Like, we can't do this. And Reggie's like, yo, like that first video got like 1 million hits. Like, there's so many people watching our tickle porn. I'm like, first of all, there's no amount of people who are like making enough money watching. Anyway, I can't even rationalize this fucking storyline. So I'm gonna move on. But he's like, no, like there's so many views. And then Kevin's like, okay, well, now that we are getting profits, we're going to have to give 40% to Terry because, like, he's coming after me now. And Reggie's like, don't worry, I got a plan. Like, just set up a meeting between us and them. As a quick aside, did Reggie always have this, like, Long Island Grease accent? Like,
yeah, he did.
It was so heavy this week. Like,
I know.
So heavy.
He puts it on. Like, I think Charles Melton, like, definitely puts it on. And I don't know why. Like I don't know why that accent has anything to do with like
Reggie.
This show and like Reggie. And also like I think in real life he doesn't have that because he's from like Kansas. So like I don't think he would have that accent.
He's literally like,
I just feel like he adds it to his own like persona.
His character,
you know?
He makes him like this like
he just wants to be like
Long Island jock or whatever. But like you make him like grease his hair backwards and you're like suddenly he's like a fucking greaser from
That's what it is.
It's just I don't know. A little extra on that character assignment.
I think it's his own like acting thing like, to get into the role maybe.
He's like, I just gotta like, put on an accent or whatever. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, moving on. So we're at the video store. The police is raiding it, and as they're in there, Jughead finds a tape of Clifford killing Jason. Like he sees like the screen capture on the tape, and so he's like, "This is an actual snuff film. It's like an actual recording of this murder." Which again, no idea how it got out if they literally had only one copy of it on the flash drive, and the reason why there was that whole storyline of Cheryl getting blackmailed by I think it was Betty was so she didn't have to see this tape again. So I was like, the fact that these tapes are just randomly resurfacing, I'm like, who's got these extra fucking recordings of these things that we knew were supposed to be gone forever? Like, it's weird that they're bringing up these things that we were told were not like gonna have second copies. Anyway, So unless they explain that later, like we'll see. So then it cuts to Terry with his boys at this hotel, and they're all meeting Reggie and Kevin. They're all sitting on the couch, and basically as he walks in, he's like, okay, like, where's my money? And Reggie's like, okay, well, you got greedy, so we're not going to give you any money. And also, like, if you try to come for us again, and then like all of the bulldogs like surround them and they're like, we'll kick your ass. Like, he threatens them basically. And Terry just like starts laughing. He's like, ha ha ha, like, you shouldn't have done that. And then he just like walks away. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So this is literally going to become like a storyline that was, the foundation is about tickle porn. Like, it's going to become like a gang boss storyline. Like, what the fuck are we expecting from this at this point?
I don't know.
So then it cuts to Cheryl and Veronica, and they're talking. Cheryl just basically says like, you know what? I'm going to bow out. I'm like not down for this like bullshit that's happening right now with this rum business. Like, I don't want to deal with it.
I was kind of shocked at that.
You know, I love the way that they made that analogy, because you're absolutely right. If she didn't say this, I would have been like, Cheryl, come on, like, you live for danger. Like, this is like literally completely up your alley. But she says something really interesting where she's like, some families, like, their bloodlines are like, you know, they bleed rum, some of them bleed maple, and like she is just trying to say like, I'm like sweet, I don't have that kind of like grit that you have, you know, for this like gangster shit. And I'm like, all right, I can totally sympathize with that and like take that and walk away with it. So she bows out, like I said. And so now we're with Principal Honey talking to Kevin and the gang, and he basically finds out about the tickle porn, and he calls them all out and is like, an unreported source found this. You need to shut this shit down. Kevin's like, no, we don't have to, because like, you know, like, we can do whatever we want. It's not real porn.
Well, it's not porn, yeah.
And then Honey's like, well, bomb drop, you were using Riverdale paraphernalia, like, you can't, it's all copywritten and we can sue your asses, so shut that shit down.
There's nothing like a good copyright claim to bring your ass down.
Yeah, that's the tea. So then it cuts to, so they have to shut it down, and then that's it. Cuts to Archie and Betty in the bunker, and this is like the song moment.
Poor guy.
He just wanted to get his song out. He's like ready to go. Archie's like playing the first few chords. He's like,
I haven't seen him that excited to sing a song in so long. Like, he was so lit to like perform that shit.
He was so down.
Was so excited.
So he's like, da da da, like, you were a memory. And it's like all these memories start to flash forward, and it's like them together, and like her opening, like him opening the door and seeing her for the first time. And then like in the middle of it, she's like, like, no more. We're like,
she's like, stop.
She's like, Scott, like, stop that. We're like, she's like, we can't do this. We're going to kill BARCHIE right now. Like, this is the moment that BARCHIE will die. And so she says, we can't do this. I love Jughead and you love Veronica, and I don't want to hurt him. And he's like, I don't want to hurt her either. And
you know what I wish that they said, and they wrote this into the scene. Every time she said, I love Jughead, I wish she said that too. I wish he was like, I know he's like my brother. Right. Like, I would never do that to him. Like, they could have added one line like that in there, because like all he ever said was like, yeah, I love Veronica too. Yeah. Like, I wasn't buying it, because I'm like, okay, but he's your friend too. Like, you don't want to fuck him over either.
It's true. Yeah. You have to recognize the fact that they're like literally the core four. They all, like, they're connected. Yeah. I'm like, just have an orgy and this will all be fine. So she says something really sweet, and she says, you and I feel safe with each other, and because like the world is changing now, we've always like we're starting to like come back together, because now we're like graduating, and like we feel safe with each other. And he's like, I don't understand like what's happening right now, like, what are we doing this for then, like, what's the situation? And she's like, whatever this is or was, it's over now. Like, we're leaving it. Like, you go back to your life, I go back to my life. And this is when BARCHIE is like, you know, pretty much dead. So
she's basically like the writers, and he's like the fans being like, wait, why did we do this? Like, why did we just waste like 3 episodes? And she's like, we're done now. We're done. Goodbye. Like, the door is closed.
So how did you feel about that kind of final sequence, essentially?
I mean, obviously, like, I'm a little let down. I kind of wanted, like, I wanted them to like flourish and like be something, but like you were saying, like, you know, it would have come out of this really like negative and like dark place of them cheating on like you know, Jughead and Veronica, and I don't think I would want that for them.
For sure.
But I think watching the whole episode as a whole, I think I would have liked to see. Actually, I think that is kind of. Never mind. We'll get there when we get there. But no, I get it. I get it. I appreciate it. I respect her decision. Yeah. I respect his decision. I think what Cheryl said to her really got to her. Yeah. And the only thing I think I would have wanted was for her later to maybe recognize, to say like, I wanted him at a certain time. He didn't want me then. Yeah. Now he wants me now, and I don't want, like, now it's not good for me. So I wish I got that from her a little bit more, but it's okay. It's fine. It is what it is. Yeah,
I agree with you. Yeah. I think that it was a great way to end kind of like this illicit, like, cheating storyline with the both of them. Again, it was just like ill-fated. It all was supposed to happen this way. I was expecting it to go this way.
Having said that,
it was heartbreaking for sure.
They still cheated. Yeah. Like, making out is still cheating. And I do think that they're gonna find out. And I think that when that happens, the real conversation will come out, because I don't think Veronica's gonna be good. Like, she's not gonna be with Archie. You know, like, it's gonna cause a bigger. It's gonna cause some tension once they find out.
I think, like I said, I know that it was just like a random thought, but like, I would love if these VHS tapes like circled back and like portrayed this scene.
No, I think you're right. I think that'd be amazing. That would be
really cool. Smart writing if I yeah. and that's how Jughead finds out, and then that's how he has to confront her. I would have been like, oh shit.
But would you be okay with like, would you want her to, in her own right, to say, hey, I made out with Archie, or would you prefer it to come out in a tape?
I feel like I would love to see her be honest, but I know that that's something that's not a very common experience for a lot of teenagers. Like, I'm sure a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. It kind of goes back to what Cheryl was saying. She was like, basically saying like, don't let anything happen. Like, until it happens, like, you guys are pretty much safe. So like, don't let it go farther than this. And so I think that that's kind of what their message is going to be. And Betty's not going to have to like say anything about it.
And it's almost like, I think in their own heads, they're rationalizing it as like, oh, this was nothing. Yeah. This was just like another slip of like emotion, and like we just needed each other, and like that's all that was. Right. Again, I think they're gonna try to sell it to themselves as that. Right. But I think when everyone sees that tape, if there is a tape, like if it does come out, they're gonna be like, dude, you guys clearly, like, there's something there. Like, fucking go look at it and go assess it and like see if you guys want to be together. Like, it's gonna have to come to that point, right? Where like, even Jughead and Veronica are like, hey, you guys keep telling us there's nothing there, but now clearly you guys can't deny this. Yeah, you know? Exactly.
But that's the thing. We were kind of there like a couple of seasons ago when they found out that they kissed like during the Black Hood moment, and I feel like we'll just regurgitate that same scene. You know, like when Veronica kisses Jughead to make things even. Like, I don't know. That's a part of me feels like
I guess that's
we
why
walked down that path.
I guess that's why they should have upped the ante this time, when like they should have had sex. Maybe, like, you know what I mean? Because like then it would have been like, no, now you guys like fully slipped inside of each other. You
Betty
know?
like got pregnant, and like, who's the baby daddy?
No, not like that. Not like that. But like they just put the, you know, the P in the V, and like that way you can't come back from that. You know.
Right. Anyway, so that's the end of BARCHIE. It's very sad. I'm sorry for all the BARCHIE fans who kind of like got their hopes up for it to happen. But like I said, I think the clues were all there that it wasn't going to be what it was. And you know what's funny? It's almost like what you said. I think you said it on the podcast last week, or maybe I just read it. But essentially, people were coming after Lily Reinhart for kind of having this storyline about cheating, and she said she defended Betty, and she said, you have to understand that Betty is a high school student who is gonna make mistakes, and as soon as she says gonna make mistakes, I was like, okay, she's obviously like coming from,
she's saying it's a mistake.
She's saying it's a mistake, so like obviously they're writing it in a way that it's gonna be shown as a mistake, and it's not something that, you know, if she defended and was like, you know what, you don't understand BARCHIE and like get over yourself, then I would have been like, okay, like maybe they'll pursue it. But until like when she had to defend herself, I was like, okay, like she's just trying to tell people like it is what it is, and you're gonna watch how it all resolves itself eventually. Yeah, which is what we got to see. So then it cuts to Archie in his room, and now that it's all over, he goes to his mom, who like suddenly had her moment, but he's still playing his like the Betty song, which I thought was really sweet. So like he's still thinking about her, which I thought was really cute. And back to what you're saying, like now that we're talking about it, you know, last time Betty like Betty was the one that cut this off. Before, Archie was the one that cut it off. So like in this moment, Betty's the one that has to be like, we can't do it. But the person that gets broke, I guess you want it, like if you want to say like mini broken up with, is always going to feel some type of way for a little bit longer because they didn't get a chance to like resolve their feelings. The other person got to resolve their feelings, right? Like Betty got to be like, I'm done.
She got there. Yeah.
Whereas Archie's going to be like a little butthurt about the fact that like she rejected him. So anyway, he's playing the song, and who knows, maybe that will come up again. Like Archie will just forever be in conflict with himself, with Betty and Veronica, which I guess is true to the comic book storyline. So anyway, moving on to his mom talking, saying like, oh my God, I love that song. Like, are you going to play it for Veronica? He's like, oh, this is awkward. That song is not for Veronica at all. He says, listen, Mom, I think I'm ready to go to the Naval Academy. I need a fresh start. And she's like, okay, I'm going to call my girlfriend, Brooke. Like, we're going to do this thing. Like, I'm so proud of you. And then that's kind of like the end of that scene. It looks like Archie's trying to move on. And then it cuts to Betty, and she's moving on, girl. Like, she is literally burning every single one of her old diaries. And Alice, like, comes by, and she's like, yo, what are you doing? You're, like, causing a fucking fire in the house. And she's like, I'm just burning my diaries. I, like, don't want them anymore. They're, like, bad memories. And Alice is like, you shouldn't be doing that. These are, like, precious memories from your childhood. Like, you should keep them. They're, like, moments that are, like, really great to remember. And right before she's about to throw out the last one, Alice like takes it from her and she says, let's save this last one if you want to. And Betty says, one is fine. And I was like, okay, so it's like the one tiny piece of hope for Barchie, basically, is what I took away from that scene. Like, did you?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that, but I'm also like really over it. Like, I'm really, really done with them fucking with us,
It's
you know?
true.
And who's to see what's gonna happen in the next season? We don't know yet. But then at the end of the episode, RIS tweeted out like 3 emojis, and it looked like he meant like the ship has sailed.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, fuck you. And I was like, what are you trying to say here? Like, have the balls to like actually follow through with the storyline. Like, why can't you guys just fucking follow through with it? But I do see them getting together later on. Like, that's the thing. I never really saw them being a couple right now. Because they're gonna still have to graduate, they're gonna have to do all those things. I can definitely see them coming together like later when like they're in college. And maybe he's like back from the Navy and like whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, I can see that happening. So that one book is definitely like, I guess there is still hope. But am I holding my breath? No.
A part of me also feels like, you know, like their end game in the sense that like when they're older, like when they're in their like 50s and they're both like, who knows, maybe like something happens to Veronica and Jughead, and like, you know, they come back to Riverdale and they look at each other and like, you know what, let's start this. Like, that's the way I see their relationship. Like, if they weren't in a relationship right now, they would come back together, and like she would remember him and like love him and be like that housewife and just like do all the things for him because like he needs that. Anyway, I'm just gonna get nostalgic about Barchie now, so I'm gonna get sad. So moving on to Pop's Diner, and Fangs and Kevin have a quick, really super duper quick moment where we remember that they were in a relationship, and they're talking about college, and Fangs is like, I'm gonna go to Philadelphia so then I can like be closer to you, and like maybe we can like be like, you know, like we can just like hang out in Philadelphia together because you're going to Carnegie Mellon.
Also, he said a scholarship, and I was like, scholarship for what?
What have you been doing?
Being in a gang? Like, what do you
do?
Like,
for taking your shirt off or what? Like, I don't know. I mean, I'd give him a scholarship for taking his shirt off, but he's so whatever. They have that moment, and then they're like happy about it. And
by the way, Carnegie Mellon is the school that like Casey Cott went to.
Oh, okay.
So like they wrap that all up into that scene. But again, I'm like, okay, but and what?
Like, and what?
And what? He's doing tickle porn. So how did he even get into university?
So he's like, so Kevin's like, I wonder if like Honey really did find those videos because you know, he found out from Terry or whatever. And they're like, I don't know what happened there either. So then it cuts to the video store, and Honey is literally at the video store wanting to go into the Scarlet Suite, but he can't because it's all blocked off and all of the shit is gone out of it. And the video store guy's like, sorry, dude, like, I know you come in here all the time or whatever. So this is the gag that we get, that Honey is actually
he's like a creep.
Like he is a voyeur. He likes those tapes. You know, it was gonna go one of two ways. It was either gonna go one way where he was gonna like be like a reformed good like bad guy, but it looks like they're taking the like evil route with him.
And you know what? It makes sense because now looking back, he knew all this shit about like everyone's past, and like he knew where everyone came from and like all the things that had happened. So like no wonder, because he was watching all those videos.
And it's true. I think we have said it before, where like, you know, the people who are the most against things that are like liberal and sexually free are always the ones who are the most like sexually frustrated.
I know, but I didn't want that to happen. You know what I mean?
Like
I didn't want that.
Very
like,
obvious.
Yeah, I just didn't want that to be the case because it's such an easy way out and it's such a sloppy way of writing.
Yeah.
I wanted something a bit more profound and a bit more meaningful. But it's Riverdale, so why am I even? I was like, profound. Like, I really don't get.
Like, really, girl?
You know, but I'm really hoping that like the writers are trying to teach people something in their writing and like in these storylines. But no, they're not. So that's okay. Yeah. That's okay.
It's just, I mean, I was still intrigued. I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. Like, I want to see what his story is now. So are we like that? And that's the thing. Like, we're to assume that the reason why Kevin said or Fang said that was because we're to assume that he found the site himself, like the tickle porn site, all by himself. I guess. So then it cuts to Veronica talking to Hiram at home, and she's like, we should get back into business together. You know, I didn't want to do it before because I thought you were just a mobster, but after you told me that story about the fact that you didn't kill that Malloy guy, I think that it shows that you're stronger and not weaker. And as she's like saying this whole line about her dad being like this new person, it cuts to Hiram going back to the bar and seeing not the kid Malloy, but like the actual big guy Jinx. And he is smoking or whatever. And he like comes to him. He's like, hey, dude. And then he just shoots him dead. And then that's kind of how that scene ends. And it was a cute little like cut back and forth between like, you know, Veronica being like, here's a check so we can be in business together because I believe in you and I think that you're a good person, to like Hiram is actually still like a shitty person and he's still killing people and like dealing with his mobster shit. So yeah, basically what we said in the beginning of the episode, it's back to the same square one moment. Hiram hasn't learned anything. He is still being rage-filled and a full mobster, killing people. Veronica's gonna get hurt. Like, same story, like, over it. So then it cuts to Betty and Jughead at home, and they're just like catching up. They're like, she's like hearing about all the stuff that happened with Ethel. And then Cheryl calls them and she's like, there's a new tape. You need to come over. And then Jughead's about to leave. And then Betty's like, I'm all in. Like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And
like, we're in this together.
Yeah, we're in this together now. And I thought that it was a really sweet moment because sometimes that is all it takes, you know, like you look at your significant other and you just look at them and like something just clicks. And I feel like they were trying to portray that on you know, tape on television, just to show that, you know, sometimes it's just a moment to like hear the person's voice or see what you were attracted about that person that will just like hit you in the right way. And I think that she needed to hear him be like, we're on the case. And, you know, that's kind of what bonded them in the first place. And
exactly.
I thought it was a really sweet moment for Bughead.
It was.
So
yeah, it was.
Yeah, so she says like he says dream team back together again. They have a kiss. It was really cute. Then it finally cuts to the final scene where Cheryl is at home with Tony. She's like bawling. She's like, I don't know why. Like, I thought this was just like a regular video, just like the other ones, like surveying the front of the house. But this one was different. And it shows like a fake Clifford shooting a fake Jason who's like tied to a chair in the head. So it's basically creating that snuff film that we just got referred to earlier this episode. And then that's how the whole episode ends. So it looks like things are getting more escalated. More people are dying. Yeah. These snuff films are getting more extreme. So we'll see. What did you think of that final piece?
It was intriguing for sure. Whether or not they're going to be able to even get to the end this season, I don't think so. So I don't have much hope for like to discover or like figure anything out this season because next week's like the last episode. Right. So I guess we'll see what happens next year, like next fall or whatever.
I wonder if they still planned it out and made the next episode definitely more cliffhangery, because they still, I think, are going to try to end it off on a cliffhanger. Maybe we'll get
for sure.
a little bit more information before the final season.
Maybe they're gonna reveal like who it is or like someone involved in it or something.
That'll be interesting. Anyway, so that is the episode, guys. No big questions on my end of things, so let's move on to comments from listeners. So Apple's Master Radio says, is it just me or does Penelope seem a bit shady in all of this? And what room behind the office? Like, he was just confused as all of us were. So yeah, still not sure about where Penelope lies in all of this storyline. Not sure why they brought her back for this one scene. Kind of unnecessary. At Fanula says, my heart is broken. It's the first time I cried while watching it. Hashtag BARCHIE Endgame. So she was obviously a BARCHIE fan. Sorry about it. I'm so sorry that you are sad about this. So are we.
Aww.
At Delphine Oadia said, I hated this episode. It just made me so frustrated. I feel like I wasted 2 weeks of life hoping for BARCHIE, and saying it out loud is just sad. At Reality TVV says, my heart is broken, but I still have hope for the future of BARCHIE. I can't wait to hear you guys discuss it, though. I know you'll make me feel better about it. LOL. So I hope we did. I hope that was...
Always. We got you guys.
Yeah. I hope that we helped you work through some of those feelings. And we're there, right there with you. Don't worry. At Lana Scapjock says, first of all, where the fuck is Hermosa? Which is what we mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Where the fuck has she been? Another few things that she said, which were great. One of them was, Cheryl and Betty being cousins is like the best thing I've ever seen. It's like Robin from Himian being Canadian. That's just a reference to How I Met Your Mother. And then, so Cheryl is my fave, but I don't want her to like Bughead. Seriously, I mean, come on. Hashtag BARCHIE Endgame. And then she says, at the end, I was so freaking confused. Like, why the Blossoms? Why JJ? So a lot of things that are happening in that particular storyline. But she also calls out the fact that, like, you know, what we were talking about with Ethel. So she says, why Ethel? Everyone but not Ethel. 4x12 flashbacks bring unnecessary characters back. It's not necessary. And then one last thing about, I guess, Miss Blossom, Penelope, she says, the thing with Miss Blossom, Cheryl and Ronnie were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But she tried to kill and or torture them. Is that forgiven? Is she okay with Cheryl being gay? I don't get it. Does Cheryl love her mom now? This show is so confusing. It's true. They don't resolve any of those fucking questions that we have. Okay, so let's move into our recap roundups.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. Okay, I think my best moment is gonna be all the BARCHIE moments of the episode. You know, I give a lot of shit to the writers and the producers for, like, I guess, not giving them enough, but I do have to say here that they did give us a lot in the last 2 weeks. Their musical scenes last week were really beautiful. They were shot like perfectly. This week's episode with the kids and the flashbacks, really well done. Do I want to see them in the future again, making something work without cheating on their, like, you know, boyfriend and girlfriend? Yes, but for now, this is it. What it is.
This is it.
Rest in peace, BARCHIE.
R.I.P. BARCHIE.
Maybe we'll see you guys again.
The ship is no longer at the dock. So my best moment, I think, is going to go to like Archie at Fred's grave. I think that was a really sweet moment. I think it was a very it was a very quiet moment that I almost forgot about until we talked about it again today. And I think that it was just a sweet, touching moment to see Archie really reach out to the memory of his father to try to console his thoughts about love and, you know, and Betty. And I think it was just a really powerful moment for so many reasons.
It ties in all of that, right? It ties in everything together. Yeah. WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
WTF moments, plural. Ethel Muggs being involved now at the end of season 4, like, where the F was she, like, and why she was like the weirdo. The writers for setting up BARCHIE to fail. Also didn't even realize Fangs and Kevin were a couple. Hiram Lodge killing someone at this point, like, doesn't he have henchmen / like, he is a mobster, so, like, why is that so surprising?
Very good point.
Like, why is everyone gagged? I have a lot. I have a lot of questions and a lot of WTF moments. Because I just don't understand where
this is all going.
Why?
Yeah. So random.
Where and why and how. That's all I got.
Mine is going to be the one that you didn't mention, but probably because I wrote it down, is the fucking entire Tickle storyline. Like, that was the WTF of this episode for me.
I left that for you.
Like, like what the like? Why are we watching this? What is going on?
Know.
This is trash. This is so dumb.
MVP.
Who's your MVP?
My MVP. I did say Cheryl as well, and I know you have her too, but just because of what she says to Betty, obviously, but also I think Betty.
Yeah.
Because I think that she got to that conclusion on her. Like, she did have Cheryl's help and like insight, but like also her being like, no, Archie, like we can't do this. We love so and so whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, you are so freaking like smart.
Yeah.
I can't.
She was, again, back to Lily Reinhardt / Betty Cooper's character just being like one of the most interesting and just like well acted, like, you know, she's very interesting to watch on screen.
Exactly. And I think just seeing how I do compare to Veronica, like Betty does learn, Betty does grow, and like she tries to be a better person with each season, each episode. And you can see that in how she like deals with this whole thing, right? So yeah.
LVP. My LVP is gonna go to the VARCHIE shippers and the writers. Come for me if you want to. I don't even care at this point.
Yeah.
But like the one thing that I will say that really, really upset me, watching it, like, you know, just in this moment of time where we're talking about BARCHIE, we talked about it last episode too. I'm sure there's a lot of Archie shippers who were very like calm about all of this and just wanted their ship to come back together, but the ones who are like super stans made this the most unenjoyable like experience, because I feel like the reason why so much of this happened was because there's so much heat that comes from these ships, like these people that are diehard fans for Veronica and Archie to get back together is the reason why BARCHIE doesn't exist. Like, they are the reason why the writers are maybe too afraid to go there with 100%. It, or like, it just makes me so infuriated that they bow down to these ships that I guess keep their demographics going. I get why they do it, because like it's basically a business at this point, but like, how dare you guys hold the writers hostage? Not that I'm blaming them. They're not like they're not. They should be like, fuck you guys too. But
they're holding them hostage for a wrong reason.
Right. It's
you know
true.
What I mean? Like, if you came to me and were like, yo, the show is like really fucked up, like it's very weird, like aka season 3, I'd be like, yeah, what are you guys doing in there? Like, come on. But they're going after the production, the crew, the staff. And you mentioned this a couple weeks ago how you were like, just because it's not your ship on screen right now, you guys are compromising the jobs of like 200 people that are working on this show. When you said that, like, it's so true. Like, do you guys even know what you guys are doing? But they don't, because they're freaking 13-year-old idiots sitting at home crying their eyes out that like VARCHIE isn't having sex on screen. It's not about the ship right now, guys. It's about the show, and things happen in a show. Things are gonna go up, things are gonna go down. No one is saying that BARCHIE is endgame, but I think we need a shift. We need a change a little bit to like make things a little interesting. You guys can't tell me that BARCHIE and BUGHEAD were interesting. They weren't anymore. They were kind of being they were boring. BARCHIE barely had any scenes this season together. Like the first half of the season, they're not even in the same room. So
it's true.
Like, please grow up a little bit. Like, we had our moments. We were growing up too. We never looked at the OC and we were like, what the fuck are the writers doing? Like, Marissa's not with Ryan today. I better like boycott this show. No.
It's
like
bullshit.
You can't just reject a show because it's not happening to how you want it. You stick to that show through and through. And you hope that the writers take it down the right path. And that's all you can do.
100%.
Like, who are you out here trying to call everyone out? Like, sit the fuck down. You're not writing the show. Like, as much as we hate on it and we pick on it, we still respect the work that goes into it. And all those moments with BARCHIE, I love the cinematography of it. I love the editing. I love all of that work that goes into it. I can appreciate that. So I would never sit here and say you guys should like be fired and like leave the like site. Like, no.
You guys are just too aggressive. Way, way, way too aggressive. I really quickly, before we get to the very end, I know that we're running super overtime, but there was a comment that came up earlier this week that I want to just read on YouTube. It was from Jordan Hines, and he says, or she says, I said this from the beginning, and I believe that younger viewers are the VARCHIE and BUGHEAD shippers BARCHIE shippers are the older viewers. I feel this way because both of those relationships were rushed and there is so much chemistry and tension between BARCHIE, it's hard to ignore. The people that are upset should just relax because it's just a show and it's been 4 seasons. I think it's time Riverdale writers put some interesting drama into the mix. BARCHIE was always going to happen. If you're a true Archie comics fan, then you'd know. And it just sums it up perfectly, exactly what we were just saying.
I think, yeah.
And it is what it is.
I think if you're an adult who's like been in relationships, who's had different like friendships or romantic relationships, whatever, you're gonna understand there's like ebbs and flows.
Right.
Like things don't stay the same your whole entire effing life.
Yeah.
And definitely I can see that a lot of our fans who are older are coming to us and being like, you guys are, yes, BARCHIE, it's time to have a little bit of a mix up.
Yeah.
We understand that. And I can see that, like, definitely, like, it's the more adult listeners that are saying that and, like, are appreciating
And, like, again, a little shade to the VARCHIE shippers. Everybody that commented on our videos were like, no, VARCHIE, we need VARCHIE now. Like, no explanation.
Yeah, with, like, 45, like, spelling mistakes.
Guys, get it together and come talk to me when you're, like, a little bit more mature to talk about storylines.
The best line.
Best line.
My best line is going to be the Cheryl one.
Okay, go for it.
The big one. You've been in love with the idea of Archie, the idea of a perfect romance, but that wasn't real. This is fantasy, but in this town of nightmares, you and Jughead found each other. That's real. That's, dare I say, endgame.
Ooh.
I mean, it's true. It was a very like summary of their whole journey together on the show, and like it is true. Like she did find Jughead in the midst of all that craziness. Like where was Archie? He was like fucking Veronica. So yeah, like they are. I think they are endgame for sure, but along their journeys, I do want to see them like with other people.
Yeah, you want to see the tension, you want to see the change. Like it just makes things interesting, guys. It's not that fucking serious.
Yeah, it's a show,
like,
guys.
Chill.
Like really.
There were a few good lines. That was a big one. So I'm glad you said it. But one of the ones that I love, I'll give it to my girl Cheryl. She says it's when the mob boss comes to her and he's like, my name is Jinx Monsoon or whatever. Maybe you guys have heard of us. And Cheryl says, no, I'm afraid I canceled my subscription to Truckers Weekly, which I thought was really funny and sassy. It's totally on brand for Cheryl. I love her so much. And they give her the best lines. Getting to your guys' roundups, we got the best moment from Postmaster Radio, Alice calling Betty's 5th grade diary juicy. WTF moment, the tickle storyline, MVP, BARCHIE. No, I do not like this ship, but they had an emotionally powerful story tonight. So cool. This is coming from someone, Postmaster Radio, who has, like not been very audible about the fact that he doesn't agree with BARCHIE's ship. So I appreciate that you made them your MVP. LVP, Fangs, Reggie, and sadly Kevin. Best line, Cheryl calling BUGHEAD, dare I say, endgame. We got one from Tina Hoven saying, best moments, all the young BARCHIE moments. MVP, Cheryl for her concern for Betty and wise words. LVP, everyone involved in the Tickle videos. And she says, theory, Kevin called Mr. Honey about the Tickle website. WTF moment, Mr. Honey at the video store. And finally, we have Atlanta Skopjak saying best moment, Cheryl stealing and reading Betty's diary. WTF moment, BARCHIE breaking up. MVP, Cheryl for wanting 2 book pages, one for her brother. LVP, BARCHIE for fucking breaking up. She was pissed about that. And then best line, I had no idea how much you hated me back in the day. Who says that? I don't remember.
Thing says it. Cheryl says it to
Oh,
Betty.
got it. Sure. All right, guys, that is the podcast. Again, we're just gonna really quickly plug. This is pretty much your last chance, or this is your last time to get a notification from us to enter this contest to win a $50 Amazon gift card and a pop socket. To enter, all you need to do is rate and comment on our iTunes page, and you'll be entered in the draw. We're gonna extend this contest obviously to the end of Riverdale season 4, which is just going to happen in the next couple of weeks, I'm sure. So just keep an eye out for it. You guys definitely have a chance. Just do what you got to do to enter, and you might win. I'd like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder Squad, White, Nicole, Faith, our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, Slay, Kate, and Jessica, and our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Grace.
Thanks, guys. And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you get access to all things Recap Rewind, exclusive content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.